up on this Thursday edition of Newsline at noon, the government proposes a $333 billion budget for 2014, allocating nearly a third of its spending on welfare and forecasting economic growth of 3.9% for next year. North Korea experts say Pyongyang will likely flaunt its improved nuclear capability as a bargaining tool for winning a better deal with Washington and its allies, rather than actually conducting a fourth nuclear test. Plus, international investigators join Kenyan authorities in probing the recent siege of a Nairobi shopping mall, and the leader of the al-Qaeda-linked militant group in Somalia confirms it was behind the attack. These stories and more on Newsline at noon.
Where's the best place for bibimbap?
Les Jeux Olympiques d'hiver se dérouleront-ils à Pyeongchang?
هل أنتم حقاً سابع أكبر مصدر في العالم؟
この歌手は誰ですか？你好，最近哪部电视剧的人气最旺？
Korea is attracting interest from around the world. The more you know, the more you want to know. Dynamic Korea.
Thanks for joining us. You're watching Newsline at noon. I'm Choi You-sun in Seoul.
Very good to have you with us. I'm Mark Broom. Numbers have been crunched and the funds have been divided. Now that all that remains to be seen is how Parliament and the people will react to the Park administration's first national budget draft.
The government says it plans to spend a total of 357.7 trillion won, or roughly $333 billion next year, which is a 4.6% increase from this year's spending. More than $98 billion, or nearly 30% of the total, is to be put aside for the welfare sector, but Finance Minister Hyun-ho says the budget proposal centered on revamping the sluggish economy. The draft was drawn up under the premise that the economy will grow by 3.9% next year, which is slightly lower than the government's previous outlook. Some $47 billion is allotted for education, more than $33 billion for national defense, and some $16 billion for research and development. The draft was endorsed during a cabinet meeting on Thursday and will be submitted to Parliament by next Wednesday. During that cabinet meeting, a bill to provide a basic monthly pension for the elderly was passed, which has left many people shaking their heads as it fails to fall short of what President Park promised during her campaign. Due to the tight fiscal budget, the measure has been scaled down to exclude wealthier seniors and will likely be the first of many watered-down versions of the president's welfare policies. Our Oh Jin-ju reports.
Starting next July, senior citizens aged 65 and older that fall in the lower 70% income bracket will receive up to 200,000 won, or about $186, in basic pension payouts per month. People in the upper 30% income bracket of this age group will receive none. However, even for those in the bottom 70%, the amount of pension payout will vary in accordance with how long they have paid into the national pension system. Some may receive as little as $93, while those who have contributed to the system for 11 years or less can receive the maximum $186. In order to fall in the lower 70% income bracket, a senior citizen must earn less than $770 per month. The government explains that more than 90% of the people in the bottom 70% will receive the maximum amount of $186. But the plan is likely to be the target of public and political criticism since it falls short of an earlier pledge to extend $186 in basic pension payments to all citizens aged 65 and older, not just to some. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
President Park has apologized for not being able to keep her campaign pledge of making sure all senior citizens aged 65 and older receive a basic pension of $186 a month. However, she did make it clear that the scaled-down version does not mean she has given up on her promise. During Thursday's cabinet meeting, President Park vowed to do her best to fulfill her pension pledge within her term in office. She stressed that her hands were tied at the moment, considering the tax revenue shortfall, the negative impact her original plan might have on the nation's fiscal soundness, and the financial burden it would impose on future generations. The country's ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition Democratic Party are going toe-to-toe over the government's welfare policy. The ruling party called an emergency meeting of its lawmakers earlier today to discuss two important pending issues: next year's budget and the scaled-back pension for senior citizens. The ruling party said it was regrettable, but is understandable considering the difficult fiscal conditions facing the nation. The Democratic Party held a large rally in front of the parliament's main hall, condemning the Park administration for retreating on its welfare pledges. Accusing the government of lying to the people, opposition lawmakers and senior citizens at the rally demanded the president keep her promises.
Prosecutors have indicted left-wing lawmaker Lee Seok-gi for conspiring a revolt, making him the first sitting legislator in Korea's history to be formally charged. The minor opposition Unified Progressive Party lawmaker is accused of plotting an armed rebellion to attack South Korean public offices in case of a quote-unquote emergency situation breaking out with North Korea. He is also accused of leading an underground organization called the Revolutionary Organization, which is suspected of having strong ties with a North Korean spy group. The prosecution is scheduled to announce its initial investigation results on E later this afternoon. Prosecutors also indicted 3 other left-wing political activists on similar charges. With strong signals North Korea is marching on with its nuclear technology development, some have predicted a 4th nuclear test could be on the cards. Hwang Sang-hee reports on the latest expert opinions on Pyongyang's nuclear strategy.
Before going ahead with its 4th nuclear test, North Korea will try to showcase its improved nuclear capability, providing an opportunity for fresh negotiations. That's according to American arms control expert Joshua Pollack, who was speaking at the ASEAN North Korea conference in Seoul on Wednesday.
The next step, in my educated guess, would be to show us what analysts sometimes call the ground truth, to bring a trusted set of eyes inside the facilities so they can use them to bargain with us and to put pressure on us to come to the table more on their terms.
In April, the North announced the reboot of its facilities at Yangbyon, and recent satellite imagery of the complex suggests steady progress has already been made. Pyongyang is believed to have doubled the floor size of its uranium enrichment plant and reactivated its plutonium production reactor. Dr. Marcus Schiller from Schmucker Technology says such developments are not an imminent threat, but rather a bargaining chip for the North.
There are so many things that can go wrong if you put this rocket on a launch site and prepare that for a launch as a nuclear attack against the United States, that I wouldn't bet anything on doing that. So if you ask me if it's technically capable, yes it is, but it's highly, highly unlikely that they will ever do that.
But considering North Korea's unpredictability, experts say the concerned parties should maintain their close cooperation on the situation.
Before the first North Korean nuclear test, the North Korean government informed China it was going to do a nuclear test. So I would say that there should be a lot of discussions among China, United States, and South Korea on how to assessing North Korea's nuclear weapon capability.
In any case, experts say dialogue may be the best way to go in tackling the current challenges with North Korea. 황상희, Arirang News.
Korea's key indicator of consumer confidence dropped to a 5-month low in September due to soaring housing prices. The Bank of Korea said Thursday that its consumer sentiment index tallied at 102 for this month, down from 105 in August. Despite the dip, a reading above 100 means optimists outnumber pessimists, and the central bank's index has stayed above 100 throughout the year. The central bank said the fall in the index also came after many Koreans felt they spent too much during the Thanksgiving holiday last week.
For your fill of Korean and international news. Join Choi You-sun and Mark Broom every weekday at lunchtime. NEWSLINE at noon.
Plenary session this Wednesday and vote on the government restructuring bills.
A team of investigators, including officials from Western intelligence agencies, are combing through the wreckage of the Nairobi mall in which more than 70 people died. They're looking for clues to so many unanswered questions, including how many bodies remain under the rubble. Kim Hyun-bin reports.
Western countries are helping Kenya investigate the terror attack at the Westgate shopping mall, in which at least 72 people, including 5 attackers, were killed.
I want to indicate that a number of our friends have joined our team, and specifically from the following countries: the US, Israel, Britain, Germany, Canada, and other agencies, including Interpol. Terrorism is a global problem, and we welcome international intelligence sharing.
The investigations began a day after Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta declared the siege had ended, but there are still an unknown number of bodies under the debris and collapsed floors.
I want to focus on the issue of people under the rubble. We have begun the exercise of addressing the forensic effort to determine the authenticity or otherwise.
For the first time Wednesday, the leader of the Somali-based al-Shabaab group confirmed its members were behind the attack. In an audio file posted on an al-Shabaab-linked website, Ahmed Godane also claimed that chemical weapons were deployed to end the siege, an accusation the Kenyan government denies. Godane did not specify the type of gas that was used, which could theoretically include anything from tear gas to poison. Meanwhile, intelligence reports have revealed the plot was masterminded weeks in advance and suggest the British and a few American gunmen were involved. But nothing has been verified yet. At least 10 people are being held in connection with the attack. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Already struggling to avert a government shutdown, on October 1st, the U.S. Congress turned its attention on Wednesday to the fight over raising the debt ceiling to extend the limit on government borrowing and averting a government shutdown that could begin as early as next week. Our Kim Ji-yeon has more.
The U.S. Senate has agreed to stop debating and start considering congressional legislation to raise the debt limit for 2014 and avert a shutdown of the federal government that could begin as early as October 1st. The fight is complicated by another battle over President Barack Obama's signature health care law, the so-called Obamacare. Republicans want to end funding for the program, which is part of the government funding bill, and Democrats are fighting against that effort. Republican Senator Ted Cruz argued against the controversial law on Tuesday in a 21-hour, 19-minute talk marathon to defund Obamacare.
Whether or not Obamacare is helping the American people, Mr. President, if you focus on the substance, the evidence is overwhelming. This law is a train wreck.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid called Cruz's effort a big waste of time and said it was a political tactic to delay passage of the legislation to keep the government running. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew had earlier pleaded for swift action in Congress on raising the $16.7 trillion limit on government borrowing. Lew warned that the government could default on its debt as early as October 17th, when only $30 billion will remain in his agency's checking account. Meanwhile, a New York Times CBS News poll released on Wednesday showed that American patience for the fight is running out. 80% of respondents said it would be unacceptable for lawmakers to threaten government agency shutdowns during budget negotiations to achieve their goals. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
The U.S. has signed the UN Arms Trade Treaty despite strong opposition from the country's powerful gun lobby, which says the pact will violate the constitutional rights of Americans. After signing the treaty on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly Wednesday, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said the Obama administration would never dream of supporting a treaty that was inconsistent with American values. The U.S., the world's biggest arms exporter, becomes the 91st country to sign the treaty, which is aimed at making sure arms don't fall into the hands of human rights abusers or terrorists. The treaty will now go through a highly uncertain ratification process in the Senate. The National Rifle Association has vowed to oppose its ratification, calling the treaty a threat to individual firearm ownership.
Chilling CCTV footage has emerged of the Washington, D.C. Navy Yard gunman on the day he shot dead 12 people before being killed by police. The footage shows 34-year-old Erin Alexis calmly entering the complex on September 16th and stalking the corridors looking for victims. During a press conference Wednesday, a spokesperson for the FBI said Alexis, who had a history of mental health issues, thought he was being controlled by extremely low-frequency radio waves. The weapon used in the attack was etched with the words, "My ELF weapon," in an apparent reference to the electromagnetic waves. Officials also say they didn't believe Alexis was trying to target specific individuals. Smartphones are constantly evolving, but the pace at which they are is accelerating really fast. The next generation of mobile devices are expected to be centered on flexible technology, where the smartphones can be folded and bent like paper. Always at the forefront of innovation, Korean tech giant Samsung has announced it will unveil the world's first smartphone with a curved display next month. Our Yulian has the details.
We're going to introduce a smartphone with a curved display to our Korean consumers.
Samsung Electronics made the announcement at the IFC 2013 in Berlin earlier this month and confirmed it at a launching event for the Galaxy Note 3 in Seoul on Wednesday. The tech giant says a limited edition of the Note 3 with the curved display will go on sale sometime in October in Korea as well as in 58 other countries. The curved display is made possible by replacing glass with a plastic-based OLED screen. As it is based on plastic material, it's strong enough to neither shatter nor does it need frames. It's only the display at the moment, but in 2 to 3 years' time, experts say there will be smartphones on the market that can be bent, twisted, and even folded like paper.
To make a flexible smartphone, the battery and all the other parts have to be bendable, not just the display. It will take some time until that kind of technology comes around.
Other electronic firms are also throwing their hat into the flexible display ring. LG Electronics is set to unveil a smartphone with a plastic OLED display that can take a curved form before the end of the year. Apple has also reportedly filed a number of patent applications for the flexible display technology over the past 12 months. Yurian, Arirang News.
Renowned Korean novelist Choi You-sun has passed away after a long battle against cancer. Choi wrote a number of bestsellers starting in the 1970s, with many of them used as the basis for a number of popular Korean movies and TV dramas. Our Son Jung-in reports.
Renowned novelist Choi You-sun died on Wednesday after a long battle with cancer. This year is the 50th anniversary of the start of Choi's career, which is marked by his winning a literary contest at the age of 18. The 68-year-old writer is known for critically acclaimed novels such as Another Man's Room and Heavenly Homecoming to Stars, and continued to write even after being diagnosed with salivary gland cancer in 2008. Friends and colleagues paid their respects to Choi at a memorial service in Seoul on the night of his passing.
I once sat on the jury of a literary competition with Choi You-sun. It lasted an entire day, and it was a very agonizing job. When I told him how I was feeling, he gave me a hug and cheered me up.
The novelist reached into the souls of contemporary readers with a range of works spanning the genres of fiction, historical fiction, essays, and even children's books. Many people remember him for the television shows and films inspired by his works, including the historical novel Sangdo, which became a huge success after being made into a TV series of the same name, and the novel Deep Blue Night, which was made into a movie.
Che was very interested in movies as well. He played a very important role in the Korean film industry, especially in the 70s and 80s, when he wrote many books that were made into films.
A Catholic Mass for Che will be held at the Myeongdong Cathedral in central Seoul on Saturday. He will be buried at Bundang Memorial Park in Gyeonggi Province. 손정인, Arirang News.
Korea is home to the KTX, one of the world's most modern and fastest trains, but sometimes people prefer to take the train for fun. Some specially designed trains and train routes have been developed to let travelers see the country in comfort and at a leisurely pace. Our Song Ji-sun jumped on board and sent us this report.
Don't expect a typical train ride, because what you'll see or sit on won't be like anything you've tried before. From the locomotive that resembles Korea's Gobuksun, or turtle ship, each passenger carriage is decorated according to different themes. You can even enjoy a traditional tea ceremony on board, sitting on the floor.
It's really amazing that we can have tea ceremony on a train sitting down. The tea seems to taste even better, and the whole experience is very new and just great.
Take a walk around the street of memories here at Kenyan Station. This Lucky Cafe is just one of the dozen stores that have maintained their original 80s facade. Cafe owner Choi is overjoyed about having this new tourist train running through her town.
My son would tell me not to renovate the cafe and keep it as it is. I'm thrilled that our small town will be bustling with young people now that the train is running.
These regional tourist trains are expected to stimulate balanced growth within the nation, especially in underdeveloped rural areas.
We are anticipating 500,000 passengers over the next 5 years on this route. As our train passes through small-sized way stations in mostly agricultural towns, we expect this S-train to boost the local economy and help local farmers boost their incomes.
The S-train is the second of 5 regional train routes designed to accentuate the characteristics of each region. In addition to the S-train that will be open to public on Friday, the overall economic impact of the 5 railway tourism belts is anticipated at some $1.4 billion in extra production over the next 5 years. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News, Gwangju.
Looks like the monks there are enjoying the first days of autumn, and it appears that summer really has disappeared now because the weather is much cooler outside. But for a checkup on the weather, we are going to go over to our Lee Ji-yeon, who's standing by at the Weather Center. Good afternoon to you, Ji-yeon.
Well, hello there, Mark and Yoo-sun. Guys, what a chilly day we are having today.
Yes, autumn really is in the air now. Like I said, summer is well gone, it seems. And one of the best parts of autumn for me, as well as the milder temperatures, is the fall foliage.
Ah, right. And it's the time when many Koreans prefer and they enjoy going down to the southern parts of the country to see the autumn leaves.
Right. And the peak season for the fall foliage is usually in the middle of October here in Korea. But that depends on where the mountain is located and its its altitude. The leaves should start to change as early as next week, and most expect mid-October to be the peak of the fall foliage season here in Korea. But I'll be sure to give you more details later on my weather report. Now, today it will be a bit chilly in most regions around the country, but for the most part, it's beautiful outside. As we can see on our satellite map, we do have a few clouds rolling in the eastern parts of the country, but the rest country is enjoying a bright afternoon, so you should really try to get out and take advantage of the weather if you can. Now, tomorrow should be another beautiful day, but chillier than today. And you may be asking if temperatures will start dropping every day from now on. Well, the mercury will stay in the low 20s in the central regions and mid-20s in the southern provinces throughout the weekend, with rain nationwide on tap for Sunday. But temperatures will jump back up to the seasonal averages next week, getting back up into the mid-20s. With that, let's take a look at today's readings. Now, the capital will rise to 22 degrees Celsius, which is 71 degrees in Fahrenheit. And afternoon highs in Daegu, Gwangju, and Busan will get up to 25 degrees Celsius with a good amount of sunshine. Other regions like Jeju and Daejeon will get up to 23, while Dokdo and Mount Kumgang will be topping out at 18 and 11. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world.
And those are the stories we're following at this hour.
Join us again tomorrow right here on Newsline at noon.